again, class. We'll be now looking at a tutorial as it relates to the question gin and wine. Alright, so we're looking at the tutorial as it relates to that question. That question is sent to your email. Currently there's about 2 questions. 2 other questions will be sent at a later date. Alright, so we're looking at the tutorial as it relates to gin and wine. Now we're starting with the income statement and appropriation account for year ending December 31st, 2014. Alright, so you should have income statement and appropriation account for year ending December 31st, 2014. Now if you carefully analyze this question, right, with the income statement predominantly, or we know that we should start with our sales. If you analyze this question, you realize that the gross profit was given to you. Right, the gross profit was given to you. Now if you can remember that, how do we arrive at gross profit? It's when you would have made adjustment as it relates to sales, opening stock, purchases, closing stock, etc. Right, you would have done all of those to get your gross profit. Right, so once your gross profit is given to you, that means that you would have taken consideration all of those calculations would have been taken into consideration already. So the gross profit was given to you, so we can just simply start at the gross profit. And the gross profit as it relates to the question here is 150,000. Right, so once we would have inserted our gross profit, our next step is to look to see if there's any other revenue. So the next step here is to look to see if there's any other revenue, right? What are other revenues? Other revenues, for example, rent received, discount received, commission received, reduction in provision for bad debts, all of those are classified as other revenue. In quick glance of the question, right? Looking at the question, there were no other revenues. So once there's no other revenues, we can move on to the next step, which is what? Our expense, right? So we're going to what? Less our expenses. We'll lessen our expenses. Alright? Now the expenses as it relates to the question here, we have electricity. So there's electricity, there is office salary. There's advertising. There was bad debts. And there were also, as it relates to provision for bad debts, before was $700. But the first footnote that says what? Provision for bad debts is to increase by what? By 50. So therefore there's a what? Increase in provision for bad debts. There's an increase in provision for bad debts. And there were also a depreciation calculation. Right? So there was also a depreciation calculation. Right? So you should find a depreciation. You should find a depreciation for or on equipment. Alright. Now let us look at the expense that there is. Now the first expense there was what? Electricity, right? Electricity in your income statement was what? 1,400, right? Electricity in your income statement was 1,400. But if you're looking at the third footnote as it relates to electricity, right? It says that the electricity bill of what? 145 was what? Due, meaning that it is owing, right? So therefore there's an expense of relating to electricity of what? 145, which is owing at the end of the year. So it therefore means that the electricity for the period was therefore 1,545, right? Because 145 was owing at the end of the period. So therefore the electricity for the year, or the electricity expense for the year, was 1,545. Next of which we have what? Salary. Right? The next expense that we have is salary. So you now need to what? Look in the footnote to see if there's any adjustment, meaning that if there was any prepayment or accruals as it relates to salary. Now there was none. So it simply means that the amount that is included in your listing, the amount included in your listing for $40,000 is the amount for the year. So $40,000 was the office salary for the year, $40,000 was paid for the year. Next we have our what? Advertising. Alright? Now the advertising expense included in your trial balance, the advertising expense was what? $30,000. The advertising expense there was 30,000 was. Let us turn our attention to footnote. The footnote speaking to the advertising, right? The footnote speaking to advertising is footnote 2. There should be adjustment to the footnote 2, right? Currently it reads the amount of advertising include a payment of 120 for 2004. There's a typo error there. It should read the amount, right? So it should read the amount for advertising was prepaid by 120. The amount for advertising was prepaid by 120. Or in other words, the amount for advertising was prepaid or was paid in advance 120 for the year 2015. So we're currently in the year 2014 and advertising expense was prepaid by 120. So it therefore means that the advertising expense for the period, for the minus that 120 from here, the advertising expense for the period there would be what? 29,880. Next of which we have our what? Bad debts. So next of which we have our bad debts, right? Now the bad debts here for the bad debts there recorded is 700. And moving on from our bad debts we have our what? Provision for bad debts, which provision for bad debts included there was 700, but bear in mind that as it relates to your income and expenditure, right, as it relates to your income statement rather, right, it's the increased portion will be recorded in your expense. So therefore the increased amount was what? 50. The increased amount was 50, right? So provision for bad debts has increased by $50. So it therefore means that the new amount of provision for bad debts for the year 2014 is going to be 750. Alright. Next of which we have our what? Depreciation on equipment, right? So depreciation on equipment. Now if you're looking at the footnote that speaks to the what? The fourth footnote. It says equipment to be depreciated at what? 20% on cost. If you remember kindly, once you're providing depreciation on cost, they're alluding to the what? Straight line method. Right? So once you're doing depreciation on cost, you're speaking about the straight line method. And the percentage calculation was what? 20%. Now if you look at the trial balance, you'll see that equipment there is what? 15,000. You'll see that equipment there is 15,000. So if you find 20% of 15,000, you find 20% of 15,000, you'll get what? 3,000. You'll get 3,000. Alright? If you find 20% of the 15,000, you'll get 3,000. Now from there, we can know that would total. We can now total the expense that we have because there were no other expense. So we can total the expense section. Now the total of the expense there amount to what? 75,175. Right? The total of that expense there amounts to 75,175. Now we're going to do what? Subtract the expense from our gross profit, and when we subtract the expense from our gross profit, we get a total of what? 74,825. And this equals our what? Net profit. There goes our net profit. Alright? Or what we call profit before appropriation. Now we can now go into the what? The partnership side of the business, right? Now we can now go to the partnership side of the business, right? So we're speaking now about the appropriation. Now everything that follows the appropriation is speaking to the partnership aspect. Everything that follows the appropriation is speaking to the partnership aspect. Now what do we do first as it relates to the appropriation? We need to look to see if there's any what? Interest and drawings. Now based on this question, was there any interest and drawings? Yes. Right, what do we do with interest and drawings? We what? Add interest on drawings. We add interest on drawings, right? And remember, who are the partners? Gin and wine. And both of them would have had drawings, right? Both of them would have had drawings, and they're paying interest on drawings of what? 5%. Now, as it relates to gin, gin drawings was what? 6,000, whereby wine drawing was what? 4,400. And if they're paying interest on joins of 5%, it therefore means that for gin, which joins was 6,000, you gotta find 5% of 6,000, which 5% of 6,000 equal what? 300. And wine join was what? 4,000 what? 400. So 5% of that 4,400 give us what? 220. When add both of these together, you get what? 520. Right? You get 520. Now this 520 added back to the 74,825 give us a total of what? 75,345. Give us a total of 75,345. Now next we move into our what? We're now supposed to what? Less interest on capital, right? So you know that we're going to look to see if there's any interest on capital. We need to also look to see if there's any salary that was paid out to the partners, that is, because salary that is paid out to the partner, will be included in the one, the appropriation part. Salary that you would have paid to the regular workers would have been included in this side of the expense. Would have been included under the expense, right? So salary that you would have paid out to a regular worker. But if it's a case where you're paying out salary to a partner, it is treated under the what? Under the appropriation. So you need to see if you have paid any salary to any partners, because once you have paid salary to partner, it will be treated here. So you're looking to see if there's any salary paid out to partner. You're looking to also see if there's any interest on capital, right? So the capital that was contributed by the partners, you look to see if you're paying them interest on such capital. You're also looking to see if there's any interest on loan, because once a partner would have provided a loan to the business, if the partner provides a loan to the business, right, such interest that is paid on that loan will be treated here, because again we say that everything that has to do with the partner will be treated under the appropriation. Alright? And we're also looking to see if there's any bonus. So if the company would have done well and decided they're going to pay their partners bonus, also you have include the bonus there. Alright? Now based on this question, if you take a quick look through it as it relates to the question, the only thing that we would have is basically the interest on capital. There was no salary that was paid out to partner, there was no bonus that was paid out to partner, and there was no salary that was paid out to partner. So the only thing that we have right here is what? Interest on capital. So we're going to what? Less interest on capital. Now again, who are the partners? Gin and wine. Now what was the capital contribution for gin? Right? The capital contribution for gin was what? $30,000. You'll find that in the question, right? And also the capital contribution for wine was also $30,000. So both of them contribute a capital of $30,000. But what are we looking for? We're looking for what? We're looking to subtract our what? Interest on capital. Now if you look at the question, if you look at note 5, it says there what? Interest on capital is allowed at what? Is allowed at 20% per annum. So it therefore means that the interest that they're paying to their partners on capital is 20%. And again, Gin would have contributed what? $30,000. Wine contributed what? $30,000. So 20% is calculated on that. So 20% of $30,000, 20% of $30,000 give us what? 6,000. And both of them contributed 30,000, so therefore this also would be what? 6,000. And again remember that there was no salary that was paid out, there was no bonus that was paid out, there was no interest on loan. So the only thing that we would have subtracted as related to this question there would have been what? Interest on capital. Now the total for interest on capital is how much? 6 plus 6 give us what? 12,000. 12,000 minus the 75,345 give us a total of what? 63,345. So it gives us 63,345, right? 63,345. And this we know this to be our what? Profit after appropriation, right? This we know to be our profit after appropriation. Now from there we move into our what? Share of profit. From there we move to our share of profit. Again, our partners being what? Gin and wine. Now the final note, which is note 7. Alright, note 7 speaks to how it should be shared. So it says what? Profit and loss are to be shared in the ratio of what? 2 to 3. 2 to 3, right? Between gin and wine. So it therefore means that gin will be getting what? 2/5, right? So where once there's a ratio that says 2, once the ratio says 2 to 3, what you do, you add both of them and you get what? 5. So therefore in the case of gin, it's going to be what? 2/5. As it relates in the case of wine, it's going to be 3/5. So what are you finding? You're finding what? 2/5 of the profit. Remember the profit was what? The profit after appropriation was 63,345. And for wine, it's entitled to what? 3/5 of the profit after appropriation, which is 63,000 again, 345. Now when we do the calculation, 2/5 of 63,345, right? 2/5 of 63,245 gives us a total of what? 25,000. That's 25,338, whereby 3/5 of 63,335 would give us a total of 38,007, right? And that would represent the profit that wine would have been entitled. When you add both of them, you should get back then 63,345, and then you would have what? Double line, right? You would have double line, right? So therefore, understand that your profit after appropriation must add back to the total of your share of profit. Right? So this 25,338 added $38,007. When you add both of which, you get back the what? The 63,345, which is the same thing as your profit after appropriation. Alright. Alright. So we're just matching the words and figures. So there goes the income statement as it relates to the question. Next, we're going to turn our attention to now doing the current account. So we're going to turn our attention to now doing the current account, right? So we're now looking at the current account. Details. Gin, wine. Now we're now looking at the what? Current account. Right? We're now looking at the current account. Now let us go back and look at the question. In looking at the question, you'll see that there were current account balances. Right? There were current account balances. Now you'll see a current account balance of gin of what? 1,500, and there's a current account balance of wine. Let us pay attention there. The opening balance there, which speaks to the fact that current account on January 1st, 2014, the opening balance of gin was what? 1,500. But notice it was on the what? Credit side. It was on the credit side. So nevertheless, you'll put it back on the credit side. So therefore, the opening balance for 2014, balance brought down for gin was 1,500. Now let us pay attention as it relates to wine. If we're looking at wine, you should see that wine has a balance of what? $200. But notice that the $200 was on which side? It was on the debit side, right? That $200 was on the debit side. So that must be placed on the debit side. So there's a balance brought down as it relates to wine. It was what? $200. Now this balance brought down on the credit side here suggesting that the partnership what? Owes the partner $1,500 at the start, right? So this $1,500 is for the partner. Whereby as it relates to this opening balance, as at the 1st of January 2014, suggests that the what? The partner owes the company or owes the organization or owes the partnership. So whereby this represents what the partnership owes the partner, this represents what the partner owes the partnership. Alright? Now we can continue. So next off, we're going to put in the joins. Now the joins, you'll find the joins in the question. Now the joins as it relates to gin was what? 6,000, whereby as it relates to wine was 4,400. Then we have our what? Interest on joins. We have our interest on joins. Now remember that we would have calculated the interest on joins in the what? Appropriation, right? We would have calculated the interest on joins, whereby as it relates to gin it was 300, whereby wine was what? 220. So gin being what? Interest on joins on gin, 300, whereby wine was 220. Alright. Now let us move over to the credit side. Now if you notice here, right, guys, that whatever is added in your appropriation account, which pretty much is only your interest on joins is added, it is on the what? Debit side of your current account. It is placed on the debit side of your current account, right? Also, you know that whatever the joins amount was would also be debited, but the interest on joins there is coming from your what? Appropriation account, right? Everything related to your appropriation account, or everything that is included in your appropriation account, will be transferred to your what? Current account. Everything that is included in your appropriation account will be transferred to your current account. Whatever is added in your appropriation account will be debited to the current account, whereby whatever is subtracted would be credited to your appropriation account. Alright? And your share